Much. All right, now to Kentucky Republican Senator Rand Paul. He's been blasting all of this as an illegal use of power, and you argue a familiar theme, right, Senator?
Well, you know, the thing is we had a vote on cap and trade. The Democrats tried to pass it, and they didn't have enough votes, so now they're going to try to do this through executive edict, and I don't think that's legal. I think if you want to pass legislation, try to get it through Congress, come and talk to us, try to convince us it's a good idea. But in my state, this is going to be higher electric bills, and it's going to be more unemployment. So we're steadfast against it, and I'll do everything I can to repeal this rule.
Now, you've probably heard Senator the President has argued it might mean higher electric bills in the foreseeable future, near future, longer term, when we wean ourselves off what he's been calling the dirtier energy, largely coal, that bills will stabilize. You say what to that?
I would say if you look objectively at the EPA's own statistics, emissions from the coal plants, from the coal stack, from the smokestack, have been going down for 40 years. And I ask this question all the time, and I think it's an important question to ask. Do you think there's more pollution now or in 1960? More pollution now or in 1920? The environment's been getting cleaner for 100 years. Some of that is federal regulation. Federal regulation has lowered the emissions. But now we've gotten to a point where we have zealots in charge, and the zealots are not balancing things. You know, our president is famous for saying he wants a balanced approach. He doesn't really want a balanced approach because he's not balancing the job losses in Wyoming or any coal-producing state. So I don't think there is any balance, and there needs to be more balance.
Now, obviously, he has weighed the political calculus on this, to your point about the states, particularly yours, West Virginia, a host of others, and he's decided, what the heck, I'm going to go for it anyway. What do you make of that?
Well, I think what it shows is a lack of balance, and it shows that environmental extremists are really guiding the policy of this administration. It's the same thing with the Keystone Pipeline, something that can create tens of thousands of jobs. He's like, no way, because some far-out left environmentalists oppose this. It's the same way with this. We have been burning coal cleaner every decade for the last 100 years. We take some of the sulfur out of the stack in Kentucky, and we actually make fertilizer out of it. We have a company that actually makes fertilizer pellets out of the sulfur that is trapped from the smokestack. So there are good stories, really, that have come from this. But people need to realize, who live in New York City, that if it comes a hot August day and you have no air conditioning, you know you can blame the president. If it comes a really cold day in January and there's not enough heat, you know who you can blame. 40% of the electricity of the country still comes from coal, and we're dramatically shutting it down. Not gradually, we are dramatically shutting it down. Thousands of people are out of work in my state, but ultimately I worry whether the country will have enough electricity.
If we could switch gears, Senator, the government of Qatar has announced today that those 5 Gitmo detainees we swapped for a U.S. soldier are free to go anywhere they want in the country. What do you make of that, especially when the president also said at a press conference today in Warsaw that absolutely there's a possibility that they could come back at us?
It doesn't sound like a great swap. I told somebody earlier today, I'm not sure it would be a good swap if we were trading for a Medal of Honor winner, much less trading for somebody who may well have been a deserter. So, no, I'm not too happy with the deal. I'm also not too happy with the rule of law not being obeyed. Congress passed a law that said he's supposed to tell us. He's supposed to give us 30 days notice, and he just says, well, I don't feel like it, or I'm taking my presidential prerogative.
Well, he says that those in the Senate were apprised of what was going on and that these talks were going on. Were you specifically?
No, and I spoke to members of the Intelligence Committee today, and nobody told me they were apprised of this, and so I frankly just don't believe that to be true. But there's one other lesson I'd say from Neil, from all of this. This is another reason why the people held at Guantanamo Bay should be tried. It can be a military commission. They're not U.S. citizens, but try them, convict them, and give them a sentence. I think this would have been a little more difficult had they either been given life sentences or given some sentences. You know, one of them's accused apparently of killing thousands of people, thousands of innocent people. So, no, I think this is a mistake.
Yeah, back in his country. Senator, if you ever became President of the United States, would you ever entertain hostage swaps?
I don't think so. I can't imagine a circumstance in which I would.
All right, so you don't see the value in that, or that if the president deemed or the White House deemed that these were not the bad guys that your colleague Senator John McCain and others say they are, that has no value at all. The swaps of this sort have no value at all. Israel, you know, the argument goes, does it all the time. Right. You say what?
I think there could be an argument made that if you're going to have cessation of hostilities, if you're going to have an end to a war, but an end to a war means both sides recognize the right of the other side to exist, people lay down their arms, someone wins in battle, so you can conceive of the end of World War II. We allow people who are held in prisons to repatriate. The end of the war with Germany, people can be allowed to repatriate, that kind of thing. So that you can conceive of it with an end to hostilities. But this is an ongoing war, and I don't see them laying down. In fact, I heard a very disturbing quote today from a Taliban leader in Pakistan who said that the return of one of these gentlemen is worth 12,000 fighters to the ongoing jihad. So it doesn't sound to me like we have a cessation of hostilities. It sounds like we have rather an incitement of hostilities. So no, I'm not happy at all with this.
You know, much has been said, given your rising stature, Senator, about what your posture would be in foreign policy. And many of your critics say, well, Rand Paul is just an isolationist. And say what you will of the president and his passive approach to this. They argue you might be worse because you would avoid any and all conflicts at any and all costs. Is that true?
Neil, they would be wrong. Because what I would tell you is the most important thing we do as a federal government is defend the country. The most important thing that we spend money on is to defend the country. It is the primary constitutional responsibility of the federal government to defend our country. So no, I would see it as a priority that we defend our country, but I would also see war the same way Reagan did. And he said to his potential adversaries, he said, don't mistake my reluctance for war for a lack of resolve. That doesn't mean that we are nowhere any of the time. It means that we debate vigorously what are our vital interests. When we determine what is in our vital interests, when we determine that all other obstacles, all other possibilities have been overcome, that we do defend our country, we do defend our interests, and we do it with the understanding that we do it to win, not to break even.
So if you ever got wind that the 5 Gitmo detainees that were plotting attacks against us, either in Qatar or if they ever ate, tracking them down and killing them?
I would say that there would be a drone with their name on it.
And that would be the extent of it?
Well, no, I think that I wouldn't release them to begin with. And yes, if people plot to attack our country, they will be dealt with, and they will be dealt with harshly.
Finally, on the VA mess, as you know, you've been a critic of the administration, how it handles, that is the VA administration, how it handles the treatment of our veterans. There are many who say it's just not up to the job, Senator. You either privatize it, give the soldiers vouchers so they can go elsewhere, slowly shut it down. What do you say?
You know, I did a lot of my medical training in veterans hospitals in North Carolina primarily, and there's always been an inherent problem to government medicine, to single-payer medicine, which is the veteran system, and that is that you have rationing and you have waiting lists. But I think it's inexcusable to make veterans wait such that you could injure their health. So what I would say is anytime they have to wait beyond a period of time, I would give them vouchers to accept private care. Whether that means we transition more to that model, probably in all likelihood it is the model for the future. We would still keep some VA system because I think some of the VA can be really specialized in war injuries. You know, the people who have lost limbs and things like that, I think, can probably be better handled with specialty care for war and for soldiers. But also, I see no reason why the overflow or the inefficiencies of government medicine couldn't be helped by having or allowing people to go to private doctors.
Senator Rand Paul, thank you very much, sir. Good seeing you again.
Thanks, Neil.